right, and we are live. Coming to you back down the road, driving through the beautiful Sandhills of Nebraska. And I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been hearing as I listen to the radio driving across the state of Nebraska. I keep hearing the news report. And so I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I'm hearing there. However, I'll wait a little bit to really kick it off because I want to get a little discussion started. And I wish I wasn't driving so I could actually invite a few people to join and talk a little bit. But maybe it's something that we can do later on this week, maybe tomorrow night or something. I'll see if Night Strike wants to get into it. Maybe on Hit or Miss, Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. I see a few people out there. I mostly just wanted a good excuse to turn the camera on and show off more of my beautiful state for all those people who think that it's a boring, flat place to be. What's up, General? Travis P. Man, I had great plans on coming and bugging you the other day, but obviously car show made it to where that wasn't going to be able to happen, so we need to go across the state. Do you mean like us together? Let's do it. I'm down. Yoder, where are the cornfields? Well, the part I'm driving through isn't quite as much corn. It's a lot more cattle. There's some corn around, but it's mostly cattle country right here in the middle of the Sandhills. So, beautiful Sargent, Nebraska. It's hard to get much more in the middle of the state than where we are right now. So, could have checked it at the front office. We ended up not even driving through your town. We went north out of North Platte and kicked through Arnold and Broken Bow. And we're taking some back roads back home. So that's what we're doing. So we weren't even by you. Yoder's always been taught that Nebraska is just one big cornfield. It's actually a bunch of little bitty cornfields, but you're close. So no, Nebraska is rolling hills. It's wooded areas. It's wide open flat spots. It's corn. It's beans. It's wheat. It's grassland. It's everything, man. We have, yeah, Travis says we have plains and hills and rocks. We've got it all. We've even got indoor plumbing and electricity to almost 30% of the houses now. So it's good times. Now, you guys just enjoy the view. I figure that it's kind of a toss-up. You'd much rather look at either the pretty countryside or the pretty girl riding in the car with me. I know that I'm going to be a way down the list on what y'all want to see. So for now, I'm just showing off my beautiful state. I showed off my beautiful wife the other day. 30%, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a cool place to be. And I always wonder if I shouldn't maybe just not show this place off to people, just because I don't want everybody to know how cool it is here. Or else we're going to have the same thing that some of these other states have, where everybody just moves in. We don't want that. No, as we've been driving across the state, we've been listening to Chris Baker on 1110 KFAB radio, talk radio out of Omaha. First of all, Chris Baker does not know who I am, but I'm going to plug this dude because you can catch him on iHeartRadio. That's what we've been listening on all the way across Nebraska. And if you go on iHeartRadio, look up KFAB, Kilo Foxtrot Alpha Bravo. It's a talk radio station out of Omaha. And every day from about 2 to 4, I think it is, Central Time, Chris Baker does his radio program. This guy is just amazing. You can get a little taste of him if you go back way down my list of videos to the 2A rally from last November. And he was one of the speakers there in Lincoln. And so you can catch Chris Baker on that and hear what he had to say about the Second Amendment. But this guy is just cool. It's a conservative talk channel, but he's got a lot of cool things to say. And he typically, you can tell, he's thinking before he runs his mouth off. So that part's cool. But as we're listening to the Chris Baker show, we're hearing all these news reports, you know, every hour, a couple times an hour. And the thing that they're reporting, or one of the things that they're reporting every news break right now, is over in Des Moines in a hotel. There was a Council Bluffs family staying in a hotel in Des Moines. And the 2-year-old son got into the suitcase, found dad's loaded .45 caliber pistol. They didn't say what it was, so we don't know if it's something with, you know, external safety or not. But found dad's loaded .45 caliber pistol and ended up shooting himself. That's part of the problem with rival. The kid ended up shooting himself, and he's got I think the entrance in the neck and the exit through his back. He's not dead, but you know, that was one of the questions that they're talking about is, you know, should the parents be prosecuted? It wasn't unloaded, and it also wasn't just laying out on the counter. So the 2-year-old got into the suitcase, and the news report doesn't tell you any of the details. The news report doesn't say, you know, dad said, hey, go suitcase, or run, you know, digging through we don't know what was happening, and that's part of the problem. We don't know the details, so we're left to form our own conclusions and make our own assumptions, and that's not always good either. But I want to get a little discussion going, and maybe we'll be able to have this live. If the roboting gets too bad, let me know, and we'll pick this up later. And Travis, I guess this might be something that you and I could discuss too, maybe on Caliber Corner, if you want to do that. But you know, I'm just really, yeah, you're right, on the floor or on the luggage holder or on the bed. But I want to know people's thoughts. You know, should this be a crime? Should this be something where, you know, one of the people that called into Chris Baker's program is an instructor, and told him about somebody that he knew of who their child got a hold of the gun, shot, and died from shooting himself. And the dad got prosecuted, was convicted. He'll never even be able to own a firearm now. So not only does he have to live with the pain of losing a child, which I think is obviously that's going to be the worst punishment you could ever face. But now, you know, he's faced criminal charges. He's lost his ability to own a firearm for any reason, self-defense, anything like that. So, yeah, you're right, General. Negligence is in the details. So, and we don't know. We don't know if this was negligence. We don't know if this was something where, you know, like I said, the kid was unsupervised, or he was doing something he shouldn't have done. He's 2 years old. So he's old enough to be naughty. He's old enough to do things he knows he shouldn't do, and do it anyway. That's, you know, when you're 2, that's you're learning. You teach a 2-year-old consequences, things like that, you know. Now, I have my own opinions, and since you guys are watching my channel, you get to hear my opinions. But I think that whether it's negligence, whether it's an accident, I think it's completely avoidable. And I think that if there's a kid in the equation, if there's a kid in the room, then there's only 2 safe places for a handgun. Number 1 is on your person, so you have control over where it is and what's happening with it at all times. Or number 2 is locked. And I don't think that there's really a third option besides tragedy. But if there's kids in the equation, especially when those are little curious fingers like that, you know, that don't understand life and death consequences. I mean, honestly, whether or not it's a criminal offense, clearly the gun should have been locked up or unloaded, or supervised, or just in a holster. So, yeah, Travis, good point. And I do the same thing. I don't have kids at my house either, often, but when there are kids in the house, or typically around Christmas time, we'll have friends over and there's alcohol involved. And those are two situations where the guns get locked up. And I typically have one close at hand on the bedside that is not in a safe. That one goes in the safe when there's going to be kids around, when the nephews come to stay with us or anything like that. Anytime that I've got kids in my house and there's a chance that they might, wander into the bedroom unsupervised, then yeah, I just eliminate a loaded firearm laying around completely by putting it up in the safe, locking it up, and my carry piece is always on me. And then I do the same thing even at night with my carry piece. That one goes in the safe overnight too. So hopefully nobody ever decides they want to find out when I've got company. That's the perfect time to come in and nothing's right at hand. I should probably tell people that. So yeah, nobody heard that. No, in all honesty though, I don't have a habit of locking guns up in my house because I don't have little fingers in my house. And the cats don't play with the guns and the lizards don't get out. And I've never had a negligent discharge due to a lizard before. So that's not really an issue. That fish, we've got a beta, and I kind of wonder about him sometime. I think we might have to watch him. He might decide to go on a shooting spree sometime, that fish might. But no, all joking aside, the only safe thing to do with a gun when the kids are around is have it literally in your control, in your possession, in your hand or in your holster. And if that's not the case, then lock it up. A loaded gun in a suitcase with a 2-year-old in the room, to me, just sounds like disaster. And yeah, general feelings and laws they are two different things. And they should be two different things. We all know that a lot of laws are getting made lately based on feelings instead of thinking and facts and logic. So, but I guess that's also, speaking of general relativity, logic seems to be relative too. So, and now we're hearing all kinds of things about facts that, facts seem to be relative even anymore. I don't understand that. People say things like, your truth and my truth, and I can't wrap my head around any truth that's not the truth. If it's not the truth, it's a lie, or it's an opinion, or it is a fantasy, or a delusion. So, but yeah, as we're driving around and showing off beautiful Nebraska, I kind of wanted to get people's thoughts. Hopefully a few people will watch this on replay and make some comments down below, or you're always welcome to email me, sandhillsshooter@gmail.com, just like the channel name. So I just want to know. I want to know what people think, and I know that this might make for a lively discussion sometime, but I just, there's going to be a lot of people who are pro-gun and pro-2A that are going to be on both sides of that issue, as far as, whose fault is it if a little kid goes and grabs a gun? The radio host was saying that, if you've got your gun stashed away somewhere, hidden in the house, and the kid finds it, then that's not was doing something to do. But at the same time, and I'm not even a parent, and I know this, kids are going to do what they're not supposed to do. And expecting a kid not to go snooping through the house, not to be nosy, that's no different than expecting a criminal not to break the law just because you passed a stricter law, or putting a sign up that says no guns allowed here and then thinking that makes you safe. I mean, it's just as big of a pipe dream. Your kids are gonna find something. If you hide it, they're gonna find it. And I think that Christmas time would be a perfect example of that. How many of us always knew where to go find the stashed Christmas presents and you know, find those no matter where mom and dad hid them? We'd always find them, right? Unless they got wise to us and took them to somebody else's house, so they weren't anywhere close by to be found. But you know, I mean, wherever that hiding place is, don't think your kids don't know where that is. And if you've got a gun safe and you've got the combination written down someplace, you know, you're kidding yourself if you think that the kid doesn't know where that is or doesn't know how to find it. Same thing if it's a key lock. You know, if you've got a safe with a key instead of a combo, then your kids are going to know where that is. So it's safe from intruders, but it goes back to, if you've got kids and you've got guns, you have a responsibility to teach the kids about the guns and to satisfy curiosities and get it out in the open to where it's not a secret thing. They don't have to sneak around if they want to look at a gun, or handle and manipulate them. That rests right on the parent's shoulders, or the authority figure in the household. If it's not a parent, then it's, you know, if you've got kids in your house that, you know, aren't necessarily yours but the are, then it still behooves you to be the one to teach them the right way and the wrong way to hold and manipulate a firearm. Teach them the, you know, the 4 rules of gun safety right away, you know. So I think that would be the true negligence. Just to say that, you know, well, it's not my kid, it's not my job to teach them. No, if they're in your house, it's your job to teach them. And if you feel that it's not your job to teach them, then you should take a long, hard look at why they're in your house. Phone call. So, I got a few comments that I have been not reading. Let's see here. Oh yeah, gotta watch those betas, you're right. Gun owner did not have the firearm under control. Yeah, I don't want that to be true, but I'm afraid that's probably right. It probably is going to be negligence. General, as a single parent without a safe, stored the firearms at a relative's house. Yeah, and that's just it too. You maybe know how you raise your kids, but that doesn't mean that your kids' friends were raised the same way. And so, you know, there's always that one friend who can talk your kid into doing something that they know better than to do. Or maybe your kid is that friend, or maybe it works both directions. But there's always going to be that person who, you know, is a little bit of a bad influence. And I'm not saying a bad kid necessarily, but, you know, there's always that one kid that's the instigator of getting into trouble. Whether it's your kid or your kid's friend, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to come up with a bad idea, and that's part of being kids. They're not going to always have the right tools or the right willpower to say, oh, that's a bad idea. We're not going to do that. And sometimes they go along with it. So you've got to plan ahead too. You can't just raise your kids, right? What's that old saying? It takes a village. Everybody's got to help raise everybody's kids, but it starts at home. You can't expect the teachers and the school systems to raise your kids and be the parent for you. Right, Travis? I think you can probably agree with that. Even though by the time you get them, they're pretty well on their way. But, you know, how many colleagues do you have, Travis, who, you know, complain of the fact that the parents aren't doing the parenting, and then it rests on the teacher's shoulders to try and do the parenting, and that just won't work. And that's not what kids need, and whether they realize it or not, that's not what most kids even want. So Travis says they always had access to his dad's guns. It's hidden. Kept a revolver under the mattress, but you knew better than to handle them, and you also knew what kind of damage they could do. And I think that's also key. It's not just a matter of letting them see the gun and manipulate it, unload it. I think that at some point you got to take a kid out to a range and watermelon, shoot potatoes, you know, something. shoot something that's going to just explode and make a mess, so they can understand the destructive capacity of a firearm and say, this is what happens to little boys, or this is what happens to little girls if they would ever happen to, you know, get shot with something like this. And we have to be very careful that we don't have an accident and that we don't shoot anything we don't want to. That's how it was explained to me when I was little, and I've never forgotten that lesson. A friend of my dad's was up turkey hunting. Yep, you're right. Friends are always a big unknown. And no, that's always err to the side of safety. You sounds like you made the right decision. So, no, my dad's friend was up turkey hunting, and the guns, you know, everybody was in for the night, but the guns hadn't quite been put away yet. And you know, I was small, 4 or 5, somewhere in there, you know, and I didn't have any experience at that age shooting firearms. And so, you know, I wanted to look at it, and 5-year-old, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to reach out and try to touch the thing. And, of course, got told no, but I didn't just get told no. My dad's friend went and he was a hunter safety instructor. He taught hunter safety for years and years, and was a gun instructor. But he took an empty pop can and he hung it on a tree branch. And then he walked back over to where I was, and he picked up his shotgun and he shot that empty pop can with his 12 gauge, with his turkey gun. And he, you know, brought it back over, just of course perforated with lots of holes. And he said the same thing would happen to a little boy if a gun shot them. So we don't play with these. They're not toys. And you know, that I've never forgotten that. I've also seen him later on in life. I've seen him do the same thing with a 2x6 and a 20 gauge. You know, shoot a 20 gauge through a 2x6 at a range of about 20 feet, and the shot hasn't even separated yet from the wad at that point. It'll go right through that board. And so, you know, it's kind of eye-opening that even something as thick as a, you know, 1.5 inches of treated lumber isn't going to stop a shotgun blast at that close range. So, yeah, it's good times. Here we are in beautiful Burwell, Nebraska. Home of Nebraska's big rodeo. They just had that a few weeks ago. Cruising right across the old Sandhills here. So yeah. Oh, that's Yoder. Sorry, Yoder. I think I said you were Travis. I was looking at the comment as I'm driving. It's kind of hard to see the difference in the red avatars there. Cal, welcome, and shut up. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I'm still talking. What are the odds that a guy with a YouTube channel that does chats driving down the road would you turn me on and find me talking? So, never knew the fun of shooting soda pop bottles or melons until you found Hickok 45. You know, that's actually one of the first YouTube channels I ever started watching too. It was Hickok, and watching a few other people's videos, I stumbled across Yankee, and from there I stumbled across the Shooting Left to Center podcast, where of course I discovered Never Enough Ammo and G-Webs, and that's when I found Travis. Was watching the Never Enough Ammo guns and politics chats, and now here we are. Here I am just talking or listening to me go. But yeah, I'd also shoot melons and pop bottles and cowboys still. So cool how this journey works. But that's about it. I know I'm gonna get real robot-y here before I go too much farther down the road, so I'll probably wind this up. I am kind of curious if anybody has any last you're not turning me on. Well, that's probably for the best. How was Colorado? Colorado was okay. It was Denver, so I mean, you know, what are you gonna do? It's not like it's the fun part of Colorado to be in. So traffic sucks. I'm from what I think is a big town in Nebraska, and we've got 25,000 people. You know, we've got no roads that are more than 2 lanes across, and so driving down 6 lanes one way on I-25 it's okay. It's just sucks, you know. And what's up, Slim? Welcome. You're just joining us in time to wrap it up a little bit. Colorado was good, you know. That is kind of a boring place to drive through on the interstate, about like Nebraska. Sam Wolf, how you doing? Pretty sure driving up the road I'm driving up right now, I'm going to lose everybody before too long, so if that happens, then we'll hop out. But we were just talking about a little fella over in Des Moines in a hotel. Family from Council Bluffs, Iowa, was over in a hotel in Des Moines, and the little dude got his dad's loaded .45 out of the suitcase and ended up shooting himself, and he didn't die, but I mean, that's still horrible. And so I just kind of wanted to get people's opinions on, you know, having kids, and those of you that are parents and gun owners, you know, what do you do? Or if you grew up with guns in the house, you know, what was the case there, especially handguns? I mean, it's a lot harder for a 2-year-old to be unsafe with, you know, a hunting rifle or a you know, an upland shotgun or something like that. So especially a handgun. I mean, what's your experiences? I'll give people time to comment, or you can drop a comment after the fact down below, and like I've said before, welcome to shoot me an email too at sandhillsshooter@gmail.com. But as far as negligence goes, you know, whether or not and that was part of the discussion when I heard this on the radio, is it a criminal offense? You know, is the parent, is it enough punishment just knowing that your kid grabbed your gun and shot himself or herself? Do we need to punish more than that? Do we need to prosecute that? Is it something that should be, you know, a jail offense? Is it something that should be loss of firearm privileges? Cal says Dad had them growing up. Most were out of my reach till I was old enough to use them. The rest, backside tanned if I messed with them. And you know, I'm hearing that from just about everybody, and the same thing with me. But it was just never something that, again, my curiosities got satisfied. It was never something I had to sneak around. And I also knew that if I mistreated a firearm or did something wrong, that yeah, I was going to get my butt tanned as well. But it's not enough just to know that you're going to get in trouble, because that doesn't always deter kids. They need to understand why they'll be in trouble, and that the bigger danger isn't in a spanking. The bigger danger is what could happen if they don't follow the rules too. So yeah, make sure your kid can't get in your suitcase. That does seem like pretty simple logic, Sam. I'm not going to argue with that. I still can't wrap my head around the fact there was a loaded gun left in a suitcase with a kid around. I mean, I don't leave loaded guns laying around. I was just in a hotel for a couple nights, and I didn't leave a loaded gun lying around. I mean, I even took it, and when we left to go places, it was locked in the trunk of the vehicle. I didn't leave any handguns lying around in my hotel room, just because I wanted to make sure that when I got back, they were there. Apparently, me to cut this off. So thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate you as I disappear up and down these hills. If you can watch the beginning, see some more of this beautiful Nebraska countryside. Oh, hold on just a second here. Yoder, there's cornfield. So that back. All right. So anyway, thanks for everybody's opinions. And yeah, if you're catching this on replay, then drop a comment down below. And if you haven't yet, please like, share, do that comment thing. And if you haven't, then you darn well better subscribe. Check us out on this or YouTube or gun channels or guntube.org. Then that's even cooler, because that means that you also are thinking outside the box. You're not just watching on YouTube. So I'll get this put up on all those other places, as well as my Patreon channel. Go give that a look. I've got a few extra tiers. Real quick, before I go down a hill, if I've got some time, I want to explain my extra tiers now that I added for Patreon subscribers. You couldn't see the corn? Oh man, there's beans next to me now. There's some soybeans. Out that way. That's kind of like, oh, here we go. Yoder, real quick, can you see what's going on? There's corn right here. Right there's a cornfield with an irrigation pivot right in there. So real quick, if you guys can still hear me on my Patreon channel, I've got a few extra tiers now for anybody that wants to go support that. I just want to explain that where I come from, the part of Nebraska, the county I come from, it's called Kippahaw. It used to be known as Mob County, and there were a lot of outlaws that rode up and down that area, and not a lot of lawmen, and it wasn't an organized county in the 1870s, and it got known as Mob County because the settlers took care of outlaws, took care of cattle rustlers, things like that on their own. They didn't wait for law enforcement. They didn't wait for trials. There were a lot of trees in the area with low-hanging branches and a lot of rope. So my extra tiers are outlaw, to commemorate the fact that where I grew up, it really used to be outlaw territory. And there weren't a lot of cops or a lot of sheriffs, lawmen, so the vigilantes had to take matters into their own hands and dispense their own kind of justice. So I called the next one after that vigilante. And I just want to explain, I in no way, shape, or form endorse vigilanteism or outlawism, but those are steeped in history. And do a Google search sometime on Mob County, Nebraska, and it'll bring up Springview. All right, guys, it's going to get worse, so thanks very much. Y'all have a great rest of your day. God